Have you ever wondered why some people can remain calm even in the worst situations, while others fall apart at the slightest setback? There is a philosophy that has been around for centuries teaching exactly this: how to live in peace, even when the world seems to be at war with you. This philosophy is Stoicism. Created in ancient Greece and perfected in Rome, it is not just a set of beautiful ideas, but rather a practical manual for dealing with pain, chaos, loss, and even death. In this video, we will delve deep into Stoic teachings, understand how they work, and most importantly, how you can apply them in your daily life to find unshakable inner peace. So take a deep breath, forget the noise outside, and get ready. Because the journey to a stronger and calmer mind begins now. Stoicism was born around the year 300 BC with a philosopher named Zeno of Citium. He taught his students on a kind of public balcony in Athens known as Stoipoikile, hence the name Stoicism. But it was in Rome that this philosophy gained strength with three giants, Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. All of them lived in chaotic contexts, wars, persecutions, losses, and yet they developed a worldview based on reason, acceptance, and virtue. Stoicism teaches that we should not waste energy on what is beyond our control, such as the opinions of others, external events, or even death. True power lies in controlling what we think, feel, and how we act. And this simple change of focus can completely transform the way we live. Epictetus, one of the great masters of Stoicism, was enslaved as a young man. He had no freedom, no possessions, no power. But even so, he was able to find within himself a type of freedom that no one could take away. He said, "It is not things that disturb us, but the judgments we make about them." In other words, it is not what happens, but how you interpret it. This phrase is a true map of emotional freedom. When you understand that your mind has the power to assign meaning to events, and that this meaning can be shaped, you begin to master your own peace. From there, criticism, rejection, failure, and loss lose their power to destroy you. You still feel it, but you don't give in. And that is real freedom. Seneca, another great Stoic, was an advisor to Emperor Nero, one of the most unstable in Roman history. Even under constant threat of death, Seneca wrote about how to live with courage, clarity, and moderation. In his letters, he spoke of time as the most precious resource we have, and how the greatest human error is to waste it on futilities, complaints, and anxiety. For him, living in peace meant living with purpose, doing what is right, not what is easy, avoiding the vices of anger, envy, and attachment. He believed that virtue, acting with justice, courage, wisdom, and temperance, was the only thing that truly mattered. And when you live like that, the world may beat you down, but it will never knock you down. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, and perhaps the most famous of the Stoics, wrote a personal diary that would become one of the greatest books of wisdom in history. Meditations. He ruled through wars, epidemics, and betrayals, but he never abandoned his principles. For Marcus, peace came from accepting the natural order of things. Everything that happens, good or bad, is part of a larger cycle that is not under our control. What is in our hands is how we choose to act. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And this is perhaps the most important lesson of Stoicism. True strength comes from within, not from status, money, or circumstances, but from a disciplined mind focused on virtue. Now, how can you apply this in practice? Stoicism is not a theory. It is an exercise. Every day you can put into practice 4 simple Stoic attitudes. First, start the day with a morning reflection, anticipating possible challenges and preparing your mind to react calmly. Second, practice the dichotomy of control, separating what is in your control and what is not, and acting only on what you can change. Third, practice the view from above. Imagine yourself looking down on your life as if you were observing it from a mountain. Problems seem smaller when seen from afar. And fourth, end the day with a review, reflecting on whether your actions were aligned with your values. This develops self-awareness, which is the basis for lasting peace. Another powerful exercise is preparatio malorum, preparing for the worst, not in the pessimistic sense, but as a mental workout. Before a meeting, a difficult conversation, or a challenge, ask yourself, what is the worst-case scenario? And if that happens, how can I stay calm? By doing this, you disarm anxiety and strengthen your mind. Another important point is to practice impermanence. Everything changes, everything passes. Pain, joy, success, failure. Accepting this truth is liberating. The Stoics saw death not as something to fear, but as a constant reminder that life is brief and therefore should be lived with a focus on what really matters. There is nothing like the awareness of finitude to cut distractions and bring clarity. And perhaps you are thinking, but that is easy to say, hard to do. And it is true. Stoicism does not promise to eliminate pain. It teaches you to live with it with dignity. It does not promise a perfect life, but a mind strong enough to endure any life. The Stoic path is about effort, repetition, and presence. There is no magic. There is practice. There is intention. And most importantly, there is freedom. Because when you understand that you do not need to control everything, that you do not need to please everyone, and that peace is within, not without, you begin to truly live. You become unbeatable. Because even when everything goes wrong, your mind remains at peace. And those who have this peace have everything. If you have come this far, congratulations. Because the simple act of listening, reflecting, and seeking to understand these teachings is already a proof of strength. Most people run after distractions. You are seeking wisdom, and that is what sets you apart. The art of living in peace is not in books, nor in beautiful words. It is in every choice you make every day, when someone irritates you and you choose silence, when you lose something and choose acceptance, when you feel fear and act courageously anyway. This is living like a Stoic. This is living with greatness. And if you practice, little by little, you will realize that life is still difficult, but you are now prepared. May this philosophy be not just an idea, but a way of living, because in the end, as Epictetus would say, what matters is not what happens to you, but who you decide to become.